Tell us what was going on there.
Well, you know, when I became detached from my normal perception of myself and I shifted, I am a liquid. I am a fluid entity. We all are. And we're made up of these 50 trillion beautiful, incredible molecular geniuses that create our form. And we think of ourselves as, oh, that's a leg. No big deal. But it's not. It's cells. It's skin cells and muscle cells and blood cells are flowing through and there's fluid everywhere and there's an immune system in there. It's a world within. And as I shifted away from the perception that I was this single solid separate entity, I shifted into this awareness that I'm this miraculous conglomeration of trillions of little organisms working together for me to be. And I could do this. I could wiggle my fingers. And just because I could wiggle my fingers and I had a mind, I could reach out into the world and I could move it. And wow, what a concept. I mean, have you ever thought about yourself like that?
No.
And we're this incredible miracle of life, and we've like forgotten that this is what we are. And we've lost that appreciation for what we are as a living entity, and that it's temporary. It's temporary, so take care of it. Take care of it, nurture it, be good to it.
All right, let's talk about the fluidity part. You kept saying, I am a fluid, I'm a fluid. What does that mean?
Well, it means that I am a fluid. I'm 80% water. I am cells and molecules in motion, which are fluidity. I am a fluid. I am atoms and molecules outside of us. I'm in motion with that. I'm just a very dense entity. So there's a tiny group of cells inside of the left hemisphere that says, I'm a solid.
Yeah.
I am an entity, I'm a single solid separate from you. And this is where I begin and this is where I end. And that's where you begin and that's where you end. And we're separate. But we're not. And if you lose that little group of cells in there that are telling you that, then you have no perception that you're separate.
I'm talking to Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, who wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight, it's called, because she had a massive stroke and remained conscious the entire time and lived, obviously, sitting here with me now, to write about it. Do you consider yourself a stroke survivor or a stroke triumphant?
Oh, I like that. I love that. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
A
Yeah,
stroke
absolutely.
triumphant.
A stroke triumphant. Yeah.
I love that you write, for the first time I felt truly at one with my body as a complex construction of living, thriving organisms.
Yeah.
Because you could see that.
Yeah, that's what I had become. Yeah, I had lived pretty much in my head before, and as that intellectual, mental, you know, the body kind of served my brain, and I was real clear that I was a full, capable, thriving conglomeration, regardless of whether or not I had that cognitive mind or not.
So when did you realize this is a stroke?
I'd just gotten out of the shower and I had dressed for work and I was walking around my apartment and I was visualizing the road to McLean Hospital asking, can I drive? Can I drive? And then the right arm went totally paralyzed. And it was just like a thud against my body. It was amazing. I never had anything like that happen before.
And so when the right arm went thud against your body, that's when you said,
oh my gosh, I'm having a stroke.
I'm having a stroke. All right.
And then the next thing my brain said to me was, you know, you read the book.
Yeah, which one? Okay, which one? Which next?
Wow.
Wow.
This is so cool.
That's right. I know.
It
wow.
did. It was. It was
This
like,
is so
well,
cool.
okay, this is what I'm dealing with.
Hey,
wow.
cool. It's a stroke.
Yeah.
Now, you were never afraid.
I was fortunate.
You were not afraid.
The portion of my brain, because fear is a circuit as well. It's the amygdala.
Didn't you bring a brain today?
I did. I brought a brain.
Can you give me the brain?
Now, Oprah, I have to tell you that I've dreamed for years of handing you a brain with a spinal cord hanging down.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so load them up.
Wow.
So here, Oprah.
Here, let me hold the brain. Yeah. Got the brain in my hand.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
So this is left, and there's little spongy
This is right.
This is right,
left.
right and left.
This is back with the spinal cord.
So was the entire left hemisphere bleeding?
Mine, yes. It started relatively small, deep inside over here. Mm-hmm. And then, but it was a hemorrhage, so it got bigger and bigger and bigger over the course of the morning.
And the left hemisphere does what for us? That's our language,
It does our language, it's our ability to think sequentially, to think methodically, to think linearly, to be able to know A plus B equals C, any kind, it's our numbers, it's our ability to communicate with the external world.
And the right hemisphere is the big picture.
The right hemisphere is the big picture. All the information, exactly. It gives us the context of everything. It also gives us the more subtle kinds of understanding. It's our intuition. It's our witness or our observer.
Wow.
It's our ability to experience peace, deep inner peace. So the two hemispheres are very different in their function and in how they
So literally, you've been following us with Eckhart Tolle,
yes.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So literally, he talks about being able to quiet the mind.
Yeah.
He's talking about being able to quiet the left hemisphere.
Yes. Yeah.
And you were able to do that.
Well, not on purpose, but
Not
that
on purpose.
happened.
That's what happened.
Yes, that's what happened to me.
The entire left hemisphere
Yeah.
went quiet.
It went totally
Which means
silent.
you lost your ego.
I lost my ego. Yeah, I lost the cells that said I am, and because that's part of language.
Right.
And so I did not exist anymore. And so on the afternoon of the stroke, I was essentially an infant in a woman's body, and I didn't have any of her recollection of her life. So was I her anymore?
So what did exist then? So you lost the ego.
Right.
You lost the sense of I am and
Right.
your sense of context to,
Right.
I am not only a name, but I am, a PhD
Right.
at Harvard.
Right.
I am,
I wasn't any of that anymore.
wasn't any of that anymore.
I wasn't any of that
So
anymore.
lost all of
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
But what you had, though,
Right.
was a sense of oneness and a
Right.
sense of peace and a
Right.
sense of connection to humanity
Yeah.
in a way that you'd never had
Exactly.
before.
Yeah.
Because all of
Yeah.
that other stuff had been quieted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I look at people who have had any kind of trauma, I ask, what have they gained? What have they gained? Because now something is missing, and that has removed an inhibition off of something else. And what I gained was this incredible knowingness of deep inner peace, an excitement of realizing everything was interconnected, and I lost the boundary of my body, so I felt that I was enormous, as big as the universe, because I no longer defined that this was where I began and this was where I ended.
Now, was what you're perceiving true, or is that because of the perception of the right brain without the left?
That was, well, I mean, that's the question.
That's the question.
That's the question. I mean, the ultimate goal in order to be a functional human being is to have a balanced brain. Be able to do both. Be able to call on the skills of each of them.
Right.
And if we can live our lives in the real world, recognizing that we are at one with all that is, and that we are brothers and sisters on this planet because we're sharing all the same atoms and molecules,
Right.
then I have compassion for you because you're part of me.
One of the things you say when you're telling us in the beginning of the book about the simple science of what happened to you in your brain, you say, as members of the same human species, you and I share all but 1/100 of 1%
Yeah.
of identical genetic sequences. So biologically, as a species, you and I are virtually identical to one another at the level of our genes, and there's only 1/100 of 1% difference,
Right.
and that is what makes all the difference.
That's right.
But
That's right.
99.99% of
Yeah.
all of us
Is the same.
is the same.
Is the same.
Doesn't, when I read that, and I, certainly have heard that and have read it in different contexts, but you made it so simple that it made me so sad for all of the wars and violence and prejudices and disagreements and arguments, and when you're all 99.9% the same.
Right. Right. We are brothers and sisters. We have this level of hostility that focuses on our differences instead of our similarities. And
And
because
so we're
you're
all
different
fighting
from
over
me,
the one
yeah,
1/100th
0.01%. Yeah.
of 1%.
Yeah. It's really, really sad.
It's
really,
crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate.
So what was your main stroke of insight?
I think to me that deep inner peace exists at the core of the right hemisphere, and my motivation to come back and to go through the process of recovery.
Because the truth is, you reached the state of nirvana.
I did.
That
I was in pure
yogis
euphoria. Yeah.
and
Right.
people meditate for
I
hours.
was in the silent mind.
You were.
I sat in the silent mind where I was essentially sitting in the lap of the universe at one with all that was.